Hi guys, welcome back. BUS391 Production Operations Management. We are off and running, and this week we have a lot going on. We're going to be working on Chapter 7. Chapter 12, MRP and ERP. We're going to be talking about what they both are, what the differences are, what do they mean, other than ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning, MRP is Materials Resource Planning, and what they are, what do they mean together? What do they mean apart? What do they mean? What are the differences? We're going to talk about all that fun stuff this week. We've got that on the agenda. You're going to find out MRP. I worked with a company that worked heavily with MRP. It's called JIT, Just in Time Manufacturing. It's a very popular use of inventory control for raw materials in your production. We had, we talked about this briefly in another video. We had a 4-hour lead time from our supplier of what was called SMC, sheet mold compound. A lot of acronyms floating around here. This SMC, or the sheet mold compound, is the fiberglass plastic that is used in body panels for Corvettes. And I used to work for the company that, GenCorp was the name of the company, that built the body panels for GM. For the Fiero, if you remember that, that was also a plastic body car. The GM 2000 project, or what was called the GM Lumina van, it was a weird-looking minivan back in the early 90s. Then we had, let's see, Corvette. We had that one as well. So those were the big three that we made body panels for years and years and years ago. This was like early 90s, actually late 80s. One of the first jobs I had right out of college, I was doing the drilling and routing secondary production equipment and automated equipment for the company that was making these body panels. But the point I'm trying to get to is that the material that we used, the sheet mold compound, we had 4 hours of inventory on hand. If something were to happen, the interstates shut down, we had 4 hours worth of production run that we could do before we ran out of raw materials and had to shut the plant down. So 4 hours worth of inventory is not much. That's how fine we were operating. And that's good because this sheet mold compound had a very limited shelf life. So you can imagine the location of the plant had to be in relatively close distance to the manufacturing of the raw materials. So that was very interesting. So it had a short shelf life, we had short inventory, we had very low lead times. So our JIT, or just-in-time performance, was 4 hours. So we were very, very happy with that, although the finer you can cut that down, the more expenses you can save because you're not storing materials. But in this case, we had a short shelf life of this material anyway before we had to process it in the presses and cure the plastic and the fiberglass to make the body panels. Anyway, long story there. This week's Chapter 12, like I said, MRP and ERP. Let's make sure we read that chapter. Please go through the PowerPoint. It does an excellent job in describing what MRP and ERP is and the differences of the two and how they interlock with each other. So in the week 7 discussion, I want you to do a paragraph. Give one example of an unethical behavior involving MRP and one involving ERP, and state the ethical principle violated for each. So let's look at some ethics with MRP and ERP. Let's see, you have an assignment due in Connect. Let's make sure we jump in there. I think you guys are really enjoying those. I'm hearing good things from others, from some students there, and actually in other classes. I really haven't heard anything out of this class yet, but we got a small number in here. So we also have a week 7 quiz. Make sure we get that done by the end of the week. Other than that, let's have a great week, and I will talk to you guys soon. If you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me.